Hi. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. We will start in a few minutes. Okay, one of our guests is here. Hello, everyone. How you doing? Let me know how you're doing. Hello. Thank you for joining. Let me know how you're doing in the comments. How's your day going? Hi. Thank you all for joining. So okay. I see Conrad here. Is Emmanuel on? I'm doing really well. Thank you for asking. Thank you. I'm just gonna give like a brief background to what we're doing and why all of this came up. So in the month of March, globally, is International Women Empowerment and Women Awareness Month. And what it is that the theme for this year's International Women's Day celebration is Accelerate Action. So basically, what the agenda is we're taking sorry, the comments are just distracting me. But we're kind of taking account of where we've come from, where we are now as women. And to accelerate action is pretty much how do we proceed from here and how do we increase efforts in going forward. And I thought to start these conversations, it would be great that we start off hearing from men. Because also one of the things on the agenda is to have men championing women empowerment and supporting women. I want to issue a disclaimer before I bring them on. This is in no way like feminism or saying that women are no. It's just general conversations on how to support women, especially because for a very long time women have been marginalized or belong to like the marginalized society. So I'm just going to add Conrad and Emmanuel on, and then we can start off our conversations. I haven't done this in a while, so. Hey, y'all.
Hi, my love.
How are you doing?
I'm alright. You?
Doing very well. Thank you. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you all doing?
Alright.
Perfect. You all have glasses on, so maybe I should also just go. But yeah, thank you for joining. Thank you for agreeing to do this with me. I know it was short notice, but I'm glad that I have both of you in my life. Would you want me to read your bio, or I should just tell people who you are?
Which bio?
Okay, so I'll start with Conrad. I mean, I've known Conrad from my mother's womb. Let's just start from. Uh, and the reason why I asked you, Conrad, to be part of this conversation, especially the very first conversations to start of this series, is because you have grown up with so many strong women in your life. And just, having that to you and knowing how relevant these women were and how it has shaped your relationships and how you also treat other women, support women, encourage women. So I just thought, who better to have this conversation with than you? And for Emmanuel, Emmanuel has been like my personal development coach from and I've seen how he has consistently helped people discover things about themselves that they didn't know. And then he's helped like with getting clarity into what their purpose is, how to proceed with their goals. And so I just thought I'm gonna have someone I can chit chat with, and then I can also have somebody who will bring serious, stuff. So I'm super glad that you're on here with us. I'm going to start off with um, maybe some rapid fire questions. Just tell us two women that inspire you, apart from me, of course.
Emmanuel, do you want to go
Oh,
first?
all right.
Oh, the two of you are coming to just do this thing here. Please go.
Okay. Two women who inspire me. My mother, definitely number one, and who? That's a hard one, Charlie. You know this is a very hard one. Like
Apart from me.
apart-
So,
that's what I'm saying. Like it's hard. My mother and my aunt.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Emmanuel, you?
So two women apart from you. The first one, of course, I'll definitely say my mom. My mom really inspired me. Seeing her resilience and her personal growth and development has definitely been an inspiration for me. I was definitely going to say you for number two, but since you say apart from you, actually no, I'll put possible for me to put you there. Or
Oh.
all right, so number two, I'll say my past supervisor, Sydney Boyer. She was the director of success department, created the department, created the objective, the missions, got the grants and the funding for the department, and just seeing the clarity and the clarity and the vision that she had for the department, being to like build it from ground up. It's something I respect, and yeah, so I'll say those are two women that.
Yeah. Fantastic. Emmanuel, do you still have Christmas decorations?
What's called? No, those are not Christmas. Those are like, so my staff members decorated my office,
Oh,
so I just kept it up.
looks like Christmas decorations. But okay, so we're going to jump right in because I'm sure people are here to hear the gist of the matter. So you both talked about your moms who are very significant in your lives. How would you say that womanhood has evolved? Like the perception of womanhood has evolved from our mother's generation now to like us? So I could like give you an example. Maybe like in our mom's generation, our mothers were not working mothers, but then now, yeah, so something like that.
So honestly, right, I have always felt very iffy, like a bit weird about the generational thing because I don't know what it's like personally in my home, right? Because right from the onset, from infancy or whatever, the earliest memories I have, my mother was a working woman and ran everything. You understand? So when people say times have changed from when our mothers, like were weren't working and on only their husbands or whatnot to support their lives. I don't know what that's like. Right? I've always known women to be industrious. I've always known women to be incredibly strong and as dynamic as and moving with such grace and strength through whatever trying to live through. You get my point. So I mean, there's definitely a difference now because now there's more of a prevalence and more women are pushing and are going after their goals and their aspirations, right? Which is wonderful. And I think that's the biggest thing because the women who came before allowed or made it a good thing to be ambitious, to want to do good for yourself. You understand my point? Because some time ago it was like your family and everything should be all you live for. You get my point? And
Mhm.
now when women can have it all, which is pretty incredible, I think. So
Yeah. Also, your little sister is in the comments screaming.
making so much noise.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing like that. I definitely agree that obviously with you, you've grown up seeing like you shared with us in the beginning, seeing your mom go hard at, you know, her goals in career. Can you just share what your mom did for
Ah,
career? Because that's like another.
okay, so my mom was a businesswoman, and all round she she liked money. I think that's what it was really, right? So it inspired her to do a lot of to dip her hands in a lot of different buckets, right? Uh, she started off when I was a kid. She started off selling electronics, so TV, freezer, conditioners, that whole thing. And she was one of the people who, import and sell in Accra. She had a shop in Accra Central, which was like the hub for you know where to get these things, right? And then all through my childhood, she still kept that shop. And then I think sometime when I was in JHS or something, she opened a block factory. She
Wow.
opened a block factory by chance. That was just to like secure the land, because you have encroachers that's a big issue here in Ghana, right? So she just did that to secure the land, and that kind of blossomed and freeballed into like another a mini empire of sorts. So she branched out into uh, trucks and hauling of sand and stone, and did a few like some construction works for like some friends of hers, and stuff like that. So basically, she just kind of pivoted into the construction space, which still is a very male dominated industry, and I
Yeah.
think she held her own, which was great. So yeah, she was an all rounder.
Yeah, yeah. So let me just say this. Also, picking both of you, I knew, like, I obviously know your moms and all of that. And so Conrad's mom is like, so both moms are fiery, like they are
Lord,
firebrand.
Lord,
Conrad's
Lord, Lord.
mom is like fire in your face, and Emmanuel's mom is like subtle fire. So she come at you with fire, but she like her demeanor, everything is just very like humble and calm. Um, so, Imano, over to you. How do you think that womanhood, the perception of womanhood has evolved?
Yeah, I'll definitely say like if any, I have to use Conrad's mom as an example. Just seeing like how she basically found her niche, and she became dominant in that area. In times past, when we're looking at like baby boomers, if we're looking in that area in time, you
I
really
told you this guy is gonna come at us with
oh,
research.
if you look at like baby boomers and things like that, women were very dependent on their husband. Their husband was the breadwinners. Any decision that was made was the husband. If the woman was start a business, if assuming it had to be in the husband's name, the woman cannot do something without the husband actually leading the woman in that. But I would say now more than ever, women are able to be more free. I think about the word freedom. They can be independent. They can build on their own. But I also think the other beautiful thing about women in this generation, women in this generation is they have the opportunity to be either dependent on their man or independent from the person. We have women who are building now and waiting to get into marriage and things of that nature. And then after they marry, they become dependent. And women that are dependent on their man, even when they get into marriage and things like that. So that's the biggest difference that I'll say with women from, like, let's say the baby boomer era and the women now is the like freedom looks completely different now. And women are able to create, imagine, and bring their visions to reality. I think women are, in my opinion, sometimes are more visionary than men because sometimes we men are very logical and things like that. But for women, being a visionary, using Conrad's mom as an example, she started from small, but kept building to the place where she started a factory and things like that. So that's what I'll say.
I like that. I was going to segue into some of the like misconceptions about gender roles, especially seeing how Conrad's mom went into like a male dominated industry, and like looking at us now, our generation, your female friends, your sisters, and all of that, I was going to say, what would you say you've realized are some of the misconceptions with gender roles? Like Emmanuel gave an example when he said like women are more visionary. So any other examples? Oh, so there's this very popular quote in Ghana by a Ghanaian, and he says, like, I don't remember his name, but he said, if you educate a man, you've educated an individual, but if you educate a woman, you educate a nation, because men have women are very influential. They have like a lot of power over children, community, families, and stuff. So things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say?
What can you repeat the question again, please?
What are you doing down there?
Right.
So that
Sorry, I think
basically, what are some of the misconceptions that
uh-huh.
have of like gender roles and stuff? Looking at where womanhood evolved from. You talked about like freedom
Yeah.
and how like the perception or understanding or expression of freedom now is totally different from what it was years ago. So I'm saying, what will be some of the misconceptions that people have or men have of?
Yeah. I would say one of those that comes to mind is thinking that men have to lead. They have to lead in everything. Don't get me wrong. When we're looking at marriage, the man is the head of the family, you know. But I see it as the woman is the neck, you know. But then if you think, but we're not here to talk about marriage today. We're here to talk about leadership. So I'll focus on that. But that's what I'll say is that the conception that men have in every area and in every industry themselves in. I think it's just like what you said, that women are extremely influential. As you said that, two scriptures came to my mind. The first one is, I don't know if you remember the story of David and Saul. Women were saying David killed 10,000. Oh, wait, Saul killed his 1,000, but David has killed his 10,000, right? So a woman being able to sing such a song carries more weight than if other men sing it and things like that. The other story that I think about is the woman at the well. Scripture says that after she heard the gospel, she went into the city and she just everyone in the city, but she got all the men that were in the city. So what does this mean? This to me, what it means is that in industry, when we're looking at STEM, medicine, whatever, it doesn't mean that in those industries, men have to be the one that are in leadership. I think into as well is the perception that women are emotional. So women are emotional shouldn't hold leaders because when it comes time to make the tough decisions, they will have emotions to um, like to take over. But can I say that not all fingers are the same? So just because one woman is emotional, like a different woman will be emotional. So I think that those are kind of the two misconceptions. Like the leadership men have to be the one leading in everything, and then two is like women being emotional. So because of that, they shouldn't take on leadership.
Mm.
Kara, do you think women are overly emotional?
I mean, I don't think women are emotional, right? But I don't think they're overly emotional. I mean, some women can be overly emotional. I mean, all like you said, all fingers are not the same.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's men who play into the stereotype of men being violent and overly brash, right? Meanwhile, we're in this new space where men are learning to be more in control of their emotions and being in control of whatever they've got going on, right? So that one glove doesn't fit every hand, obviously, right? The thing about emotions is that because I feel like it's a strength, because they're emotional is why they can, make such impact. You get my
Mm-hmm.
point? It's why they are nurturing. It's why they have the power they have because of their emotions, right? Guys are naturally wired to be logical, like
Mm-hmm.
Emmanuel said. Naturally wired to be logical. Now, logic isn't great for dreaming and being a visionary, like you said. It's I mean, if you're going to be logical, I mean, what the hell are you thinking? You get my point. It's like, what are you saying? I'm going to run the biggest and best what do you call it, clothing factory in Ghana. Are you crazy? That's what logic would tell you. You get my point. Whereas, emotion would be like, I know I can do it and I'm going to try and work at it, and whatever crazy kind of faith you have is going to come into play. So I feel like the emotions are definitely a strength for sure. I mean, and it can, same way as a strength, it can also get out of hand from time to time. It's not it's not a crazy thing. It's not unheard of. So yeah, I think that's what it is.
Okay. So women are brought up like to structure their lives around men, traditionally, culturally, schools, everythingly. How can men make it easier for women to thrive
Mm.
in business, in education, in academics, anything? How can men support women to thrive?
Advocate.
Understand, like, and please don't tell me that women should not center their lives around men because it's ingrained in the very nature of a woman to be nurturing and caring. So, how can
I
men?
I think the first part of it is advocating for them. Just advocate for women and speak up. You understand my point? Because fortunately or unfortunately, especially in Africa here, men have the voice. You understand my point? And so if whatever is playing into your strength and you're able to speak against it, I think you'll be heard more. Like the way you said, women are taught or have it inculcated in them to build their lives around men. Right? It's an argument I have in my house a lot of the time, in my home, where so I live with my grandma and my aunt, and this is an argument had like multiple times with my little sister. So my sister doesn't love to cook, right? And I mean, this,
Mm.
and it's not exactly a fault because my mother never got her to, was never there. She didn't even have a lot of time generally. So I mean, when was she even going to teach you, sit you down and cook this and do that? You know my point, yeah, that kind of thing. And so years after, like my mom passed and everything, now my sister is growing up, and then she gets a lot of blowback from my grandma and my aunts, who are very homey, very nurturing types. My grandma is an amazing. My auntie is the queen of jollof rice. Really will attest. So they naturally feel like by the virtue of the fact that you are a young woman, you should know these things. And I'd hear this line my grandma would say, when you get married, who for your husband? And then you think there's someone Superman, and I'll run out of my room or wherever I am and stop telling me all that. You know, if it's a human skill, if it's a skill she needs to live as a human being, that's perfectly fine. I mean, you should know how to cook just so that you can survive, right? I don't tell her that you know has to learn how to cook based on the comfort of some imaginary husband who is meant to keep her off her feet in the near or not so near future. You get my point? And
Yeah.
that's one of the ways I find effective. I mean, it can make you seem annoying, quote unquote, or like off-putting. But if you know what you're doing, I don't think you'd really care, right? Because I mean, I think it's gotten to a point where even though those will still have those arguments or those those still those banters, it happens less and less now, where they will sometimes even check if I'm around before they start saying that. They'll say that, hey, right now your brother can talk plenty, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's still very basic and very ground like grassroots level type thing, but it's making a difference. So advocating for all the women in your life is a big part of it, and just making sure hear them and you actually listen and make a change in your own little way. That's literally how you can do it, because I mean we all can make such earth moving changes, unless it's, in your little corner of heaven, wherever you are.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. I love that because you know how they say little drops of water make.
right, exactly. Yeah.
So definitely, like everyone, like if every man listening is supporting women in their circle by, for example, just speaking up for the woman and saying it's not necessarily supposed to be this way and encouraging, you know, that kind of action. Absolutely. Thank you, Conrad. Emmanuel.
Definitely. Just to piggyback off what Conrad had said, because he's definitely a lot of good things that comes to mind listening, just as he said.
Mm.
I think that for us not just to hear what but really understand them. Because I believe that listening and understanding are two completely different things.
Mm.
Just so many times we like well I've been taught not I've been taught you said yeah keep it moving. But if it's like actively listening, asking them more questions, like why do you think this way, and things like that. Whether it's their career, if we relate to their career or whatever it is. I know, like for me, specifically speaking, when it comes to unseen potential, when I'm meeting with clients, they may say like, "Hey, I want to write a book by this month," by the end of 2 months. And I'll tell them like, "Hey, I believe that you can do it. What are the roadblocks that have stopped you from achieving it so far?" Some of them will say like, "Well, myself, the fear of failure, the fear of who's going to read my book at all," and things like that. So when we're able to listen to them and ask them good questions, we can really figure out how we can, which is the next step, how we can encourage and support them. Because when someone is just telling you something, but you're not like actively trying to support them, whatever it is that they are trying to share with you, sooner or later, that, as you said, Noelle, that is dropping little by little going to stop because the water realized my words are useless here. I need to find someone or something that will help to keep these ideas flowing, keep these things that I'm thinking about flowing. So I think the first thing is listening. The second thing is encouraging and supporting them. I think just as Conrad said, it's not about like women are more than washing dishes, cooking meals for us, taking care of their family. Just as their men want to build, women also want to leave a legacy as well. I think the beautiful thing, if we're looking even in the concept of marriage, it's even beautiful when both the man and the woman have what's the word I'm looking for? Have like similar purpose and similar drive in mind, because they can help to push and encourage each other in order to keep moving forward. So of course, yes, women may be good at other things. Just as a man, we're good at fixing. Well, I'm not the best at fixing cars, but I can learn. you know, like if there's war, even though I've not seen one, I have to go because so this is what this teaches. I haven't been in war. If war was to come, there's the ability within me to become that. So what is it that I'm saying here? It's the same thing for women. There's the ability within them to become that. So just as they tell us as men, like be a man, like you're like, what does that even mean? Like because you watch the other people and what they're doing, you just begin to mimic that. It's the same thing we could do with women. Calling forth who we see in. Sometimes we may not see it. Sometimes they may have to help us to see what is within, but encouraging and supporting them. And then the last thing that I'll say is even as Conrad said, advocating for them. The word that comes to my mind, what I wrote for number 3, is just making room for them. If we find that has a certain strength in something, supporting them in that. Like I'll even speak to Conrad concerning this, like us coming on this and like meeting and having this conversation and thing with you is because we believe in you. We know that this is something that you do exceptionally well, and things of that nature. So making room, finding the strength that the woman has and encouraging her with that, whether it's through prayer, money, time, whatever it may be, so that's what I'll say.
Fantastic. Ooh, thank you. Thank you. I picked the right guys. So, I got a few questions from people, but I have one more question before we get into the questions that people sent in, if that's okay with you. So my one more question that I plan to ask. sincerely, how would you feel if the key women in your life earn more money than you, and how will you support them? How will you feel if, for example, like your wife, younger sister, with the idea that men are supposed to be the head? Who said, one of you said that, like, there's the concept of perception that men are supposed to be the head leaders and all of that. So if your significant female in your life earns more money than you, how would you feel? One, two, would you support them, and how?
I'll be a trophy husband. Get it. Listen, I love it. Of course I'll support it. Like I said once more, that's been my reality all my life, right? I have always known women to be able to run business and run, their own lives with authority. You understand my point? I use my mother as I go back to my mom always, that for a very large, for a very great part of my life, and I'm sure it's a part of the reason why Noeli chose me to be on this, because I wasn't very close to my dad, right? So I've
I'm
been.
sorry, Conrad. I also chose you to be on this because so many ladies will be here so they can see a fine boy. Okay,
Sorry.
question.
So so I've grown up with very strong women around me, and my mom at a point would not, I don't want to say like throw money about, like I always make this a reference that when Barry was gonna get married, when my older brother was gonna get married, and I remember like leading up to the event, like planning and everything, and my dad would give him some money, right? Like whatever amount of money it is, like if he needed to do something. And then after that, make a long list of like requests, that I want this done. And, declared that because I'm giving you this so and so amount of money. And one of the things that bummed me out about the fact that my mom had passed at that point was that, like, if my mom was alive, this man will feel very small, right? Because she just do it like I mean, she's a woman, naturally. She's a tad petty, right? So she's gonna, try and show out and, do your
Yeah.
bad. And I love it. So I mean, I'm not gonna fight it if my woman or like a key person in my life makes more money. If my sister makes more money than me, hell yes, man. Baby sister, I want a new Range Rover. Be my guest. What? What else are you gonna do about it? Do you understand my point? Like, if this question brings up such a long debate and a long conversation, you should always ask yourself why you feel that way. You understand my point? Because I'm like, if we like, there's this thing where everybody knows that for traditional gender roles, women are considered the people who run the home. Men go out and work, bring money home, right? And now in a today, like in 2025 now, we are trying to challenge those standards and those norms, where you can have stay-at-home dads and women who are running billion-dollar corporations. You understand my point? And guys love the whole angle that she's coming after me for my money. I want her to want me for more than what I've got. You understand my point? So why is that a problem flipped over? You understand my point? Like it shouldn't be like such a long conversation. I mean, enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy it, support them in whatever way you can, and just move along. And enjoy the dollars. Enjoy the bank the bank.
The reason I ask is because there's a notion that if a woman earns more than a man, then there's a tendency for her to not respect him. So
I
it's
guess,
just
I
uh-huh.
mean, I feel like money exposes you,
Mm-hmm.
right? Wealth exposes who you are on the inside,
Hmm.
be it male, if you're a man or a woman, right? Um, Men who, are like, great family men and are like, doting fathers and are wonderful husbands, and then maybe they hit the big break and then they become philandering jerks, cheating left, right, center. That's what you were on the inside. You just didn't have the funds to follow through with it.
Yeah.
So if you are scared that your woman is, or your wife, or someone around, like, your significant other is not going to respect you once they make more money than you, then I think you should judge your powers of selection.
Mhm.
Because you went for someone who was disrespectful from the get-go. You don't blame that on the money. It just exposed it, made it louder.
Mhm.
You get my point? Yeah, that's it.
James, drop your mic. Okay, Emmanuel, you.
Yeah, like I honestly don't have anything other to add than what Conrad has already said, honestly, um, because like I don't foresee why if a woman in my life is making a whole lot more than me, why that should why I should be jealous or want to bring that person down just so I can live a hard life to say that I did this, And I think that in the end, like her success is my success and my success is her success. And if that's not the case, then why do we get married anyway? Like, so if I see my sister or a family member, a woman who is a family member succeeding, if anything, I should continue to, if anything, hire me because I know that my life will be a little
Bro,
bit like
tell me.
literally.
No.
Hire me. I will be the best employee, and things like that. So yeah, I think I think it's the fear that I in the follow-up question that you brought up, like, well, men feel like the woman will stop respecting them and things like that. Like, I think just as Conrad said, it goes into the woman that we. It made me think of a quote that one of my bros said. He said that there's no humility in poverty because,
Mm,
like, already poverty has
that's the real.
already humbled, But when you do become wealthy and you do become rich, we do get to see another side of you because wealth brings power, freedom, and opportunity
Mm.
and things like that. So, yeah, I don't know why I should have a problem with it. So, yeah.
That sounds good. Okay, we'll jump into people's questions. Also, if anyone has a question, there's like a question mark thing down there, so you can just post your questions. But the first question, okay, let me take the second question first, because the first one is kind of some way. You know the first question. So this person is saying, and I'll mention names, but this person is saying that she doesn't understand. She says, I don't understand why my husband maltreats me and is actually cheating on me. Can you speak to that?
Wait, like,
Like she doesn't understand why her husband still maltreats her and is cheating on her. Can you speak to that?
Phew, that's
yeah,
The I was gonna ask the second question first, so let me just ask the second
yeah.
question.
yeah,
Well,
'cause- yeah. Wait, is the second question part of the first question,
so
or is
the
this
second question is another.
okay? If you want, tell
Oh,
her.
okay. So
Tell
this
her.
is the first question.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah. I was
this is the first question that came.
perfect. Is it okay to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
What
Yeah.
I would say is what you're basically asking us to tell you is why is it that um, your husband is treating you the way that you do, like that he does. As men, we can't speak for every single man about why they decide to treat a woman a certain way. I think if there's one word that I'll say we'll have to look at is where has respect been lost? Whether it's respect from the man himself or how has he lost respect for you?
Mm.
You know, is it that he's lost respect because there's something that he desires from you that you're not giving to him? It may not be what's called making love. It may go deeper than that. So that's the thing. Where has respect been lost? If that respect can be restored, then it's possible the maltreatment and the cheating could stop.
Well,
Because a man only some go seek somewhere else for something that he's not getting where he and realize this too as men. We as men are not when we pick a woman, pick her because we believe she has something that we need, not just want. something that we need. If the streams of water has stopped on that side, then we'll try to go find it somewhere else. So that's what I'll say. I'll say reach out to Unseen Potential or reach out to Unseen Potential for a one-on-one consultation. And who knows? Or actually reach out to Noelle. Noelle is better at that. Let's not do that. Reach out to Noelle. I think Noelle would definitely be a good listener at that. So.
Well, if they reach out to me, I'll forward them to you. Are you somebody?
Wait, yeah.
Are you saying you're giving someone a free consultation?
Hey,
They like
if
this here. Okay,
yeah.
just note the person's name from the question.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So what I'm doing, so I'm not going to tap on the question to show on the screen because then the name will show.
Yeah, right.
So the second question, I'm not going to read how the person said it here, but basically, Conrad, are you single?
Oh my Lord. I have a,
Are you single?
I have a
Like,
feeling that
let's know, are you available? Yeah.
am I available currently? No.
What? All right,
Okay.
that was
So not available. So there's like it's easier said than done. Supporting the women in their lives, like supporting the women in their lives have more money than them. Have they experienced it personally? Okay, so I think they're asking, have you experienced it personally to support a woman who makes more money than you, or support somebody around you who makes more money?
No, I mean a lot of my friends make more money than me. I Inueli. And I mean and I love you all the same, don't I?
Please answer the question.
I'm answering. A lot of the women around me make more money than me, and I'm still, I'm still in their corner as loud as ever.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. This other question. Also, the question just keeps sliding off the screen. Oh, okay. So someone says, "What's the best advice a woman has given you? What's the best advice a woman has given you?"
These things are so hard, man, because I have to sift through years and years and years of.
Yeah. If you want to go for this while you're still processing, I'll say the first thing that comes to my mind is something my mom always tells me. She says, "Do your best, the rest for God." So every day I work hard as though it all depends on me, but I pray and spend quality time with God as though it all depends on Him. So that's one. And then the second one is by my supervisor, Sydney Boyer. She always told me never to settle for less. Sometimes because you're like an entry level, you're starting somewhere, you always feel like, okay, let me just take the bare minimum and things like that. And I feel like unfortunately some women do that because they feel like, okay, I have to build myself up to that reputation or whatever. But like you have to be able to see the value in what you bring to the organization, to wherever it is that you currently are, and don't let anyone sell you short of that. So, yeah.
Okay. Want to go?
So my mom is a very Kotey person, but then I think one of the things she imparted or taught me so much of was hard work, and how hard work was king in everything. Applying yourself, even if it's hard, and going hard at it, even though you don't love what, however you're feeling in the moment. Because at the end of the day, it's going to, give birth to something beautiful. So yeah.
So someone is asking, it has to do with like women's health and menstruation. I'm trying to like raise this question in a way that's not too, but okay, pretty much how would you say that moving forward, men should support women's health and well-being? Say that. So
Um,
ask correct questions. Like ask your questions.
like Emmanuel said, making space for listening. Yeah, making space for them and listening. I didn't know. Um, I didn't know this was a thing. Like, because I live here, living here in Ghana. I didn't know this was a thing in the US and other places where, especially for like black women, needed like special advocacy in hospitals and stuff like that. Like, actually having to listen to her, and like she's saying there's this wrong with her, and people just writing it off as, oh, you'll be fine, you'll be fine, you'll be fine. And though that was a real eye opener. I don't know. I thought it was a show. It was one of these medical dramas, and the lady died. She had just had a kid, and she died because they just kept, she kept telling that she wasn't feeling great. There was something wrong with her. They just kept sweeping her, and, oh, you'll be fine, blah 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 blah. And then I went on to read about it, and I realized there's a thing in certain areas where if the woman doesn't have an advocate present who would actually impress upon the doctors or whoever was in charge to look out for them and listen, actually listen and do what they required, it will just get swept under the rug, and then whatever would happen would happen. So I think a big part of it is listening and creating space, and pushing legislation here in Ghana. A big thing here in Ghana is the price of the sanitary towels, and how like pricey it is compared to so in the very rural areas, it's hard for girls of school going age to purchase sanitary towels, where it's really hard, and they would use all sorts of things at that time of the month and everything, and it's and it was causing a lot of like problems in the different communities. And it was a thing in our parliament where the, the a lot of the MPs weren't talking about it. It was almost as if it wasn't a priority, right? Rather than compared to a few people who would raise their voices and speak to those things. So I feel like pushing legislation is a big thing there also. Yeah.
Absolutely. One of the ladies who will join us in like subsequent sessions actually like started an initiative to kind of contribute towards efforts to reducing the sanitary
Right.
pad stuff. So yeah, excellent point you bring up. People are just asking silly questions. People should ask proper questions. Um, Please, both of them are not available. They are taking or they are unavailable at the moment.
Amen.
Okay, someone said, Emmanuel, you said women are more visionary. Basically, they're asking you to go deeper.
Elaborate.
Yeah, elaborate on why you think that women are more visionary than men.
Well, let me just use myself as an example. For me, it takes me a long time to all my strength to build on that one thing. I feel like with my experience, let's say for example, with the woman that I supervise, they can take something small that I brought to the table and make it much larger and much bigger than what I have already, like what I have seen and things like that. So that's why I'll say not just in terms of the size, but also as well how how many other ideas they can come up with and things like that. The other thing I really feel like when it comes to being more creative and being more visionary than men is that it takes a lot of resilience to fail and keep getting back up. And I've seen a lot of women in my life, like I'll use Sydney Boyer as an example, who has fallen short in different ways. Like I can only imagine building a student success center and all these kinds of things. It definitely comes to a lot of people telling you no or it cannot work out and things like that, but be persistent in order to do that. So that's what I'll say is that like if whoever asked this question, I bet you whatever your dream or your aspiration is, if you were to take the time and really ask yourself, like, if I couldn't fail, what all would I do? I bet you come up with a longer list, like a very big list of creative things that you can do to actually achieve whatever it is that you desire. So, yeah.
So someone is saying, how have women played a role in your success and achievements? And I think you both have spoken extensively about how women have their role. Someone said men in the olden days were the only ones who went to school, at least in Ghana. We've come a long way. Still do, yes, absolutely. Um, and I think her question to this, because she says, how, okay, pretty much talking about maternity leave. And do you guys have a take on that? I also think we should save this ones for the women. But
But I'll leave it to Conrad just in case he wants to,
Oh,
touch a little on it. But this one, man, I'm not going to. Yeah.
I agree.
it's a great question. I think we should use our last few minutes on this. So this person says, I'm just trying to summarize. It's on healthy masculinity and reshaping how boys and men think and view women. So what will be your definition of a woman, or how would you say, or what would you say a woman is?
How scientifically how we
Yeah. Which definition are they looking for?
yeah.
Scientific or
Not the parts.
Men don't listen.
I'm
So the person listen to the context. Healthy must is the
okay.
here, and they are saying reshaping how men and boys think and view women. So your definition should reshape how the boys and the men who are on right now listening to you or will watch later, how would you define a woman to them to reshape their thinking of the existing perception of women?
Man, that's a
Wow.
great question.
It's a great
That's
question.
a good question.
A very
Uh,
loaded one.
yeah.
I feel like we all his research to answer that.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's
I would
break
I
it
would
down.
yeah.
What would you say are the so we've already talked about misconception and we've talked about moving forward, this is what men should do.
Mhm.
So just it's as we're wrapping up,
Yeah.
don't view women as this because they are more, this is what they are.
I
Kind of, yeah.
I would say for me, specifically, like anytime I look at a man and a woman, I always look at scripture because that's how I understand. Because out of men came a woman, And the scripture that I always think about is that, like, husband loves your wife as Christ loves the church and the church. And then wives, like, submit yourself to your husband. When I look at the word submit, my sisters and I go back and forth on this all the time. You can a woman is powerful and she carries so much. And the only way that a woman has the ability to submit is if she has a lot to submit, if that makes sense. Like, so the way that I would say that men and boys should stop viewing women is just because they may seem more as like the gentle and the, like, scripture said that for they're the weaker vessel. It doesn't mean that they're weaker than men, right? But I believe that a woman's ability, that even though she's so powerful to bring herself under the submission of a man, is a very powerful thing. I always think about it as like going to the gym, for example. As guys, we have the ability, like muscle wise, we can carry more than a woman. But if we look at mentally wise, sometimes women carry more than men, if that makes sense. So I always tell people, especially those that I supervise, those that I walk with, I always tell them that I'll never compare my struggle. And I'll use this example, my struggle as a man to compare with the struggle of a woman, because we're two completely different things, two completely different worlds and two completely places. So if I was to be speaking to a young man, I'll say that just because you're physically stronger or you feel like you may be smarter and things of that nature, do not look down upon a woman, because I truly believe they are even sometimes more powerful than men, but a woman brings herself under subjection so that you can lead her, if that makes sense. That's because even what you talked about before is that women are influential. It was because of a woman that David and his name got announced. It was because of a woman that after the woman at the well, all the men in the city came. And it was through a woman that Jesus was born. It's through a woman that all of us here are born. So at the end of the day, it's like sometimes we can't pick and choose when we can say, oh, men carry more and do more than a woman does, because these are tangible things that we can see. But a lot of us men will not be who we are today if it was not for the woman in our lives. So we should never lose that respect just because we have more muscles or because the world speaks about us more. But any great man will always say that the reason why they got to where they were is because of the woman that they had in their lives. So that's what I'll say.
The person who asked this question, reshaping boys'
Yeah.
perception, that the only reason why you can submit something is because you have something to submit. So you are in itself powerful enough for God to say, you know what, your strength and your power and what you have in you is dynamite. So we need it to be, submitted to somebody's leadership. Fantastic. Conrad, do you want to say something to that?
I mean, I think he said a lot. I think he said pretty much. But then I've always thought that, women were always more. I mean, the word more. Any way you see them, like, whatever, area or in whatever situation they find themselves in, they're always more than that thing. Like, there's so many layers and so many shades to womanhood. It's a beautiful thing if you allow yourself to see it like that. You understand my point? Like if you allow and you make space for her womanness and her humanity, it allows you to relish and enjoy those parts of womanhood. And women are known to be nurturing, right? And
Mm-hmm.
women are known, it's the default thing the world was, formed around, society has been formed around. But beyond nurturing, they are strong. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, they are strong. They are fierce. When Emmanuel made the reference to the gym, right? And guys being able to lift more weights and everything, and then something came into my mind. So there's this parallel that happens usually when guys go into like the ladies classes, if it's Pilates or something, and you see these muscled Greek gods, like after 10 minutes they are burnt out, and the women are going out like, oh yeah, it's a regular Thursday afternoon, that kind of thing. Like it's really like cardio intensive stuff. That alone is a I feel like it's a mirror to the life as a whole, where everybody has their strengths, everybody has their weaknesses, and if we allow ourselves to see women as humans, like, our fellow human beings, you can appreciate those differences a lot more than you allow yourself to appreciate them. And I understand it's always a learning curve, especially if you grow up in a home where it's a yes sir, yes sir, yes sir, yes sir, yes sir kind of environment, and it's a lot to unlearn those things. But then if you give yourself a chance to, you'd appreciate a lot more things about women, where you'd actually genuinely like whoever you're with, or your female friends or your loved ones, rather than see them as an addition to you. That you see them personalities on their own, and people who think and breathe and live whatever lives they want to live also, and just adding on, enjoying that bond that God meant it to be. That's my just humanity, and they are more they are more than than you could always think of.
Yeah. That's really, really powerful. And I think that we can wrap up points because the goal of this, the whole International Women's Day celebration, and the theme accelerating action is pretty much how we put more effort into, or speed up into women becoming who they can be, or like their fullest potential. And I think that the last two things that you both said, about women being so much more, that, you know, if you recognize a woman as being so much more than you think, or even she thinks she is, then you'll give her that space to flourish, and it will be for the benefit of all of us. And as Emmanuel said, the only reason why God will ask women to submit is because what they carry is obviously so much more powerful. He says, bring it under submission. Thank you guys so much. Is there anything else you want to say? Apart from, you know, tell me thank you and how lovely I am and all of that.
Amazing.
Any other thing?
Most definitely. Thank you so much, Noel. Really, truly appreciate this. And we're definitely praying that God just continue to open greater doors for you, that even as you're seeking to empower women to see the unseen potential that is within them, God just opens more doors for you too as well. You know, because women need, just as men, we need examples, women also need examples to know how far they can go. And our prayer is that God takes you far so that women can see that there is no limits except the limits that they set for themselves. So thank you so
Amen.
much.
Amen. As the pastor has spoken, my brother, you to speak to us.
Yeah. I mean, he said it all. It's been great. It's been great. You know, hearing. I feel smarter by, you know, based on everything I've heard from him, which is great. And like what he said, you're amazing. Whatever you're doing, you know, I mean, we've known each other for a very long time, and you always strike me as one of my I don't know. I don't know how to describe you. You are more. You are everything, right? You are nurturing. You are strong. You're amazing, right? And I love the fact that, you know, you are allowing people to see this part of you more, and, you know, chasing your dreams, and bringing everybody along on the ride, which is wonderful. So I pray it's going to grow bigger and better than it is even now. And I mean, yeah, we'll be shouting and screaming your name from the sidelines as always. And then, I mean, when the big bucks roll in, I want my Range Rover.
Amen to that.
I'll speak to my accountant.
That's a big woman talking.
Amen.
There's some people in the chat really disturbing me. Please, lady, with due respect, I greet you. Thank you guys so much for coming. Let me just kind of highlight the two key things that both of you said that really stood out to me. Conrad, you said that money reveals your true character. So if a man does not respect a woman because she earns more than him, or a man maltreats a woman because she earns more than him, it's only a reflection of who he truly is, and not the position or influence or affluence that the woman has. And so, you know, check yourself, man. Check yourself and make sure that your heart is in the right place, your intentions are in the right place, your character is in the right place, and understand that women are more than we perceive or even know them to be, and give them that space and that room to shine. Emmanuel said that women are visionary. Even though men are seen as the leaders, women have so much more potential and are able to push vision farther than a man can. Also, because women have that emotional factor, they are able to feel, and because of that, their influence goes farther, larger, and wider. And then the last thing that really stood out to me, out of the plenty wisdom that all of you shared, is that the reason why God will ask a woman to submit to a man is because the woman in herself is so much powerful. And if that power is left uncontrolled, it can blow up the whole world. So God has said to the man, hey, maybe you are more logical. You don't move with your emotions fast. So woman, submit to the man. Thank you both so much. I've absolutely enjoyed this conversation and many more conversations to come. Thank you both. I love you both so much. You know that. Both of you mean so much to me. Y'all know that. Thank you for agreeing to start off these conversations. It's gone way better than I expected. Thank you. Thank you all for joining. To those who sent questions, thank you. I will connect the person who asked about her cheating husband to the person who said he's giving free consultation. And yeah, so okay, so just before we leave, Conrad is I was gonna say multi-millionaire, but let me calm down. Conrad runs a fashion business. And one of the things I really admire about Conrad is his genuine heart. So I won't go into the story of how all of this began, but Conrad has built a fashion business from scratch. It's called Malkoyemo. So I'm going to like share all their stuff on my stories again. He makes amazing clothes for men. So all you ladies, it's a way to appreciate your man. Get him clothes, no more socks. Get him clothes, and Conrad will hook you up. And when you go, just mention my name. He'll do you nice. So yes, and then that's aside all the other things Conrad does. Conrad acts in Ebo White Place for those of you in Ghana who know. So yeah, follow Conrad on all his platforms, support him because he's such a strong advocate for women. And Emmanuel is, apart from all the many things he does, he's a personal development coach. And so he helps people to have clarity in who they are, what they want to do, and translates those things into reality. And he has offered somebody a free consultation because her husband is cheating on her. And for the person who asked that question about the cheating husband, we will send you all the resources we can, and we're here to support you. That's also one of the reasons why we were having these conversations. So thank you guys so much. Love you all. The ladies are screaming Conrad in the chat.
Oh Lord. All
Conrad.
right, guys.
All right, bye guys. Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you all for. Bye.
Our pleasure.